Hi, I'm Al Forster with AVF Consulting LLC. Today I'd like to talk to you about an operating system that runs under the Raspberry Pi operating system and gives it the added feature or condition of skins. It's called Twister OS, and I am actually recording a recording that I did on the Raspberry Pi, and now I'm showing you how that recording looks on my Mac Mini that is recording that recording. Sounds kind of crazy, but here we go. What we're looking at right now is the Raspberry Pi Twister skin that is intended to look like a Macintosh. I keep my dock along the right-hand side of the screen, and so I've set up that skin to look the same way. Same background image. Actually, the little icons for each of the applications used is also similar. Pi Commander basically shows us how the Raspberry Pi computer is running. There's also add remove software, as you can see there, very similar to the icon for the App Store. There's the various applications that can be selected from what they call the dock, or the palette here, and so we're looking at that. There's also the smiley face, you might call it, that's showing you. It's called a file manager, and basically I'm showing you the video directory in the file manager. There's also a terminal, because the Raspberry Pi is based on the Linux operating system, and so many of the fine-tuning aspects that you do on a Raspberry Pi are done from a terminal session. So that's how that would look. The web browser, we use either Safari or Chrome. This web browser is called Chromium, and I've brought up a couple of windows here that you can see. One is a Vikings video from YouTube, and the other is the YouTube TV channels that can be streamed to your computer or to your browser or whatever. You can even go from a smaller screen to a full screen scenario. I'm going to just move past this a little bit so we can see what the next selection on the agenda is. That's mail. And as I said, capturing video inside video might be a little unusual. Also looking at contacts. So just like our contacts look, the contacts here look similar. There's a calendar that looks very similar to the Apple calendar. And you can do the same kind of setting up alerts with that calendar. There's a mousepad application that'll basically gives you a small editor similar to the text editor that I'm showing here. Then there's an image viewer. This allows us to view images similar to the way preview on the Mac would look. I'll just quit preview for now here. What this is doing is bringing up a session of Zoom, showing you how Zoom looks here. Zoom looks very similar in the Twister operating system. What I used on the Twister operating system was this called Volca, and it's basically a screen capture utility. So what does the other operating system, well, what does this Voco screen look like? Well, Voco screen just gives us a webcam on screen, so you see the person who's talking to you as you're doing a presentation. Kind of similar to the Zoom setting that I talked about. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I'm just going through several applications. There was LibreWrite and LibreCalc and LibreImpress, which is like PowerPoint. There was a calculator similar to the calculator that we use on the Mac. And then I talked about there's a backup routine for backing up to micro SD cards from an SSD. I have a 256 gigabit SSD attached to this machine, this Raspberry Pi. It's a Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 gigabits of RAM memory. There's also an 8 gigabit version of RAM memory. So what's the advantage of this after all? The advantage is that 4 gigabyte Raspberry Pi costs about $45. When you put an SSD on it, you add another $35, and a skin or a shell to plug the SSD into costs another $15. So for something on the order of under $100, you can have a computer that you would have paid $1,000 to $2,000 for if it were a Macintosh. But the concept of skins is also there. What we're going to do is bring up what the Raspberry Pi looks like when it uses the Twister operating system. Now, the Twister operating system here kind of can be set up to look like the Mac operating system. It has some additional features. There's 4 CPUs associated with the Raspberry Pi 4, and the performance or the percent utilization of those 4 processors are shown here, along with some temperature data and how well the Raspberry Pi 4 is running. All of the same applications that I talked about being configured for the Mac version of Raspberry Pi are also accessible from here. So if you learn how to use them in one environment, you can use them in all the different skins that are available for Twister. Say you wanted a Windows 10 skin instead. Well, there's your Windows 10 skin. I'll make that a little bit larger so you can see it. So here you have your dock bar along the bottom. the twister pop-up bar that shows you, favorites and recently used and accessories, similar to what we'd see in Windows 10. And we can look at the file manager in different ways. One is a pictorial view of the different folders in the file manager, or you can have a line-by-line view of the files as well. So what are the main advantages of this? Well, you can get into a Raspberry Pi 4 computer for about $100. You can, anything it's got HDMI out, so any HDMI TV that you might have laying around can be the TV that's used, or the monitor that's used. You can buy an inexpensive keyboard. I've been able to buy keyboards that you can plug in. There's 4 USB ports associated with it and 2 HDMI ports associated with this Raspberry Pi 4. So you can plug in all kinds of peripherals, from a mouse to a keyboard. It even has Bluetooth capability built in, so you can run remote speakers, or you can use it to transfer information between, say, your smartphone or whatever. So that's how this is used, and I hope you like this presentation.